Imagine you're a Ukrainian soldier on the front line in active combat. Your buddy gets shot. He's bleeding out. You've got 20 minutes maybe. You got to get a medic there to stabilize him. You call for medevac and Starlink isn't working. Hello.
Right. Hey.
Sorry I'm a little late.
No, you're fine. You were cooking, I believe, like I was on this Boneface story.
Yes, the Ukrainian veteran, the veteran of the Battle of Mariupol, the Battle of Bakhmut, the Battle of Kiev, the Battle of Hostomel Airport, the battle of every battle. Actually, it's crazy. Every battle he was both in jail and fighting in Mariupol at the same time. That's an amazing dedication to Ukraine's struggle.
He's got that shapeshifter skill ability where he can like.
He's like Gale, man. He can teleport.
Multiple of them. Just absolutely sad, or absolutely. It was all set up, in my opinion. Obviously, like the whole thing.
I don't think Laura Loomer cares if it's real or not. I think she's a huckster. Right. I think she's an attention whore. I mean, I've seen her like go up to like Kanye, like call into Kanye West's interview with Alex Jones and be like, "It's okay if you say Hitler's cool." Like, yeah, it's okay. The Nazis, say everything he's saying is fine. And I say that as a Jewish woman. And then now is going to make up this whole spiel about not only like opposing the Nazis, which I don't really think she cares about Nazism, because unless if you're like, it's okay if Kanye West says Hitler is cool, then I don't really think you care that much about Nazism. I think this is all just performative to try to tie Ukraine to Nazism, try to tie Joe Biden to Nazism, because Nazis are bad, and most people, for good reason, hate Nazis, so that's why she's doing this. And she would take any story at face value and run with it if it served a narrative that she liked. She was narrative humping. That's all this is. And so when she gets called out and all of the photoshops are shown to be fake, and that she basically took a street thug Nazi at his words, whose entire face is covered in tattoos. He's a clear attention-seeking maniac, schizophrenic, and she took him at his words. She was saying she sent this stuff to get authentic. It was authenticated by like researchers, real smart people on this stuff, that she's seen the document, she saw the passport. That's another thing. You can't have dual citizenship. So unless this guy gave up his American citizenship to become a Ukrainian citizen, I don't know how he got no Ukraine passport. Like, none of his story makes any sense. How did he get evacuated from Mariupol? How was he not captured by the Russians if he was fighting in that battle? Anyone with the most basic of knowledge of the war in Ukraine would hear a story and immediately dismiss it, as all the people I saw with any knowledge of Ukraine did. But she doesn't know anything about it, and it served the narrative that she already wanted to use and go for, which is fuck Biden, fuck Ukraine, and so she accepted it at face value.
Right, and didn't even challenge it back or anything. But part of me too feels like she was like a part of it, though, dude. I mean, that's just maybe my old conspiracy Tom Clancy brain, because I was a part of the shit. So like now I'm like thinking about things deeper and looking at it, but it's like she just strolled up to him. True. Yeah, this is obviously just guesswork for me. There's no evidence or anything that suggests this, but just how she walked up to the group and they just like immediately all in unison turned to her, "Oh, Laura," and obviously we're shouting slurs and everything else too, just making it like drumming it up, making it extra. The DeSantis flags out there too. I thought that was an interesting little touch that they added as well.
She said that he called her at 1 a.m. and then admitted to all of his war crimes. Look, I don't know if you know many war criminals, right? I don't know any war criminals, right? But I find it hard to believe that he would just randomly in the middle of the night call up someone that he supposedly hates and just admit to all of his worst atrocities.
That's not gonna exactly 100%. It's just too many. Even just at her story at face value, there's so many holes in it, and obviously it's done. But then, bro, the photoshops, though. Could we talk a minute about the photoshops? Like the random the scope that's just sticking out of the pump action in the photo. I'm gonna pull this thing up here again, or the other Photoshop with the dead Russian in the background, and they have the mask on him, and she put the black bars on his face. And
that's the thing that makes me super suspicious, because that was an edit. That was a Photoshop. That's not him. I've seen the original photo. Ethan Ralph, that clown of all people, was able to call her out on this, showing literally anyone, if they put the slightest amount of effort, could dunk on Laura Loomer, okay? But it wasn't him. It was a completely different person. The original photo showed that. Why is she putting black bars over his eyes if she wanted to confirm it was him, if not to try to obfuscate the fact that it wasn't him. That's the stuff that makes me
Exactly.
super suspicious.
And then the fact that they had to add in eyeballs too to like make it seem like they took some forensic photo guy or something. Like it was just too much. It's just way too much. And then obviously I saw the Votniks pick that up, and they had a Photoshop group of Azov on January 6th, and apparently they were responsible for that. And then Ukraine became responsible for COVID.
She said that Ukraine penetrated the capital with secret Ukrainian spies, possibly at the behest of the CIA, deep state, Joe Biden, whatever,
God.
and that it was an act of war.
Is it because she's MAGA?
Could you imagine?
What is it?
We send Marines into Ukraine. We're like, we gotta capture the capital. We gotta move. We go in. We capture Zelensky, and he's like, why are you doing this? Well, didn't you guys do January 6th? Could you imagine the look of dumbfoundedness that would how dumbfounded Zelensky would be? What about your agent Boneface, Mr. Zelensky? Bone what? It's so disconnected, man.
Everything's been disconnected from them too, but it's got to be like it's gonna get so dumb around election time when we get to presidential election season. If this is the level of stupidity we're at right now around it, oh my goodness, it's gonna get dumb. But
you know what sucks is this works too. This stuff absolutely works.
It does.
There's no like if you look at these, I think only one of them actually has been like context added, and of the one that was like already millions upon millions and millions of people had already seen it before the context was added, and she's not correcting the record. Already, all these people have had their minds poisoned by this stuff. I was seeing even some content creators liking these posts, thinking she actually uncovered something. She uncovered nothing. And now there's going to be people walking around the world who think that Boneface got an expeditionary medal from the United States government for his service in Ukraine while also being a deep state CIA agent that they're trying to cover up. Why are they giving him medals that he's just flaunting around if he's supposed to be a secret operation? It doesn't make any sense.
Right, it doesn't. They constantly shoot themselves in the foot with their own messaging and their propaganda, actually. It's like and it puts them into a corner, but then they just get out of the corner by just creating another narrative. New narrative unlocked. I just wrote it last night in my dreams.
You know, the best case scenario for this, in my opinion, I don't know if I can say it. You know what, I'm going to say it anyway. Best case scenario, in my opinion, is one of the schizophrenic Russia supporters sees this, gets really angry at him, and they just go for him. You know?
Oh shit! Jesus, true. Could be. Could.
Look, I'm not a look. All I'm saying is if you want to LARP as a soldier, okay, the people who put their lives on the line, the people who put themselves under fire, well then you better be ready to have your life in danger. That's the morality, in my opinion, right? If you're gonna, I believe everybody who LARPs, they should be forcefully drafted. Everybody who does that like stolen valor stuff should be forcefully like drafted into the United States military. That is my 100% honest opinion.
I haven't heard a civilian take like that before, because obviously, I mean, I'm a veteran, I served, and we obviously hate stolen valor and people that pretend like they served in the military or wear uniforms, and or even those that did serve and they add on to their shit, like pretend like they did tours or deployments that they never did before. They get taken care of privately, but that's a very interesting take there on that one. You think they should be
what do you think
put into the military? Maybe give them a test run. Not everyone's cut out for the military.
That is true. That is true. But even just filming them as they run through boot camp, sweating, falling over, like trying to run over, and just posting that online, like, we'll make you do this if you do stolen valor. You want to, because they want to like up their image in the community. They want to get all the benefits. They want the like veterans discounts at the coffee shops. They want to be able to get like the front row seats at the movie theaters. And so if they want to prop up their image, we should break down their image.
We do that, but we'd have to put them in their own little training regiment and film it and make content out of it. Not mix them with not mix them with the actual soldiers that are trying to make it out there.
That's true. I wouldn't ever want to make this guy make somebody out there like reliant on this guy to save their life with a tourniquet. Yeah, no.
Exactly. It'd be good content though. Absolutely. So beyond the Boneface bullshit with Laura Loomer, Attack'ems. I don't know if you got a hold of the news in the last couple hours, but ABC came out. ABC came out. U.S. likely to send long-range Attack'ems missiles to Ukraine for the first time.
That's
They are
great.
coming, says
Well,
U.S. official.
it looks like nuclear war is imminent. We're all gonna die.
Oh, gee.
We're all gonna die. We're all gonna be obliterated. I will call my grandmother after this. Wish her my goodbyes. I'm very, very sad about this. We're all gonna die. As I look,
Yet another Westoid escalation of the conflict.
Another Westoid escalation. You know, the
Yep.
Ukrainians, it would be terrifying. You know, they'll escalate by shooting back. It would be horrible, terrifying.
Right.
But I think this was this in my mind I felt like was inevitable after the Storm Shadow. And this seems to be the pattern, is that one country breaks the mold, and I got to give credit to the British for this. They broke the mold when it came to sending Western tanks, and then eventually we sent over some Abrams, and other nations started sending over Western tanks, like the Germans. The Leopards have been extremely helpful. Now, the British have sent over the Storm Shadow, and now, after nothing happened, when the boogeyman of the Western escalation didn't lead into anything, now America's sending ATACMS. This seems to be the pattern, that they poke the bear, nothing happens, and like, oh, I guess it was just all saber rattling, and then they continue. I just wish it didn't take so long. Could you imagine if they were using these ATACMS missiles at the start of the Zaporozhye counteroffensive to knock out the Kerch Strait, to knock out supply depots, doing this earlier during this extremely crucial counteroffensive, and we didn't just placate these peacenik losers who are still buying the same Russian propaganda narratives that they have been buying for the last year and a half? The pattern is clear, and we need to start ignoring these Russian North Korea-esque statements.
Facts. The peaceniks, those that are trying to play the both sides with it, or trying to pretend like any new weapons package to Ukraine is going to escalate the conflict or send it to a new place. Absolutely not. I mean, you sent Ukraine apparently, like I had the tweet up from Mira, who posted like, striking Crimea was the escalation point. Then it was sending javelins was the escalation point. Sending HIMARS was the escalation point. Leopards tanks, Abrams, like every single time. And then we'll get to Elon in a little bit again. We'll cook on him about what he did. But everything around any type of little aid to Ukraine being an escalation is just absolute nonsense. Absolute horseshit. You know what was escalation? Was a Russia full-scale invasion last year, after they had invaded Crimea in 2014, to then full-scale invade Ukraine to try to take the capital city and dominate Ukraine in 3 days. Like, that was the escalation, and it's aiding Ukraine now is just the right thing to do in general.
It's kind of hard to escalate further than full-scale war and death holes, just holes filled to the brim with bodies. It's like that is as far as you can like escalate as I can imagine without literally nuking the country. I mean, and not to mention just all the blatant acts of terror. Where was all this talk of escalation when, for example, just a few days ago, a marketplace in Donetsk was blown up, 17 civilians died, a bunch of people injured. I was at that place with an evacuation crew the day before, talking to people about getting out of there. Why is that never called an escalation? Why was the pulling out of the grain deal never talked about an escalation? Why is those things never talked about as escalations? Because this language, the language of escalation, isn't actually meant to be concerned about the war spiraling out of control. The language of escalation is meant to limit American support to Ukraine. It's a Russian propaganda narrative meant to undermine our support for our ally. That's the purpose of this dialogue, because obviously it hasn't come true yet, and they continue to repeat it, even though it continues not to be true. What was it? I love the Far Cry games. What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. And I don't understand why we continue that. I wish we would just give Ukraine everything that they need right now. Like you had mentioned, the ATACMS would have been significant for Ukraine to use, especially while the Russians were laying their minefields and their trench lines in the south of Ukraine, while they were slowly pushing on Bakhmut, right? The Ukraine could have been hammering those from a long range away. You know, hindsight's 2020, what is, but this type of shit can't continue. Like, we got to give Ukraine what they need to now to win, right? Or to at least exponentially, I don't know how to put this, add haste to it, or give it a haste buff or something, you know, advance further into the south, get to Tokmak. Ukraine needs infantry fighting vehicles. I know the last weapons package is really, really good in terms of 175 million, and they got explosives for demining equipment, replacement parts for their equipment, their vehicles. Like, that's all stuff that they really need, and I'm glad that that's going, but it should just be like, it should just continue, and there should just be production lines in the U.S. just cooking this up for Ukraine at this point, in my opinion.
I don't think this type of piecemeal method of, well, here's a package here, here's a package there, kind of just like, oh, here's a billion here, here's a billion there. That is not how we win the war. That's good. That's fantastic. But what the Ukrainians need is a sustainable flow of weapons that they can depend on so they can plan operations knowing that these weapons will arrive in the future. If they can do that, then they can attack confidently and with a constant supply of munitions. That's what our production line should be producing, and that type of long-term sustainability is what we should commit ourselves to. And I think that verbally we've done that. We just need to also do that physically and in actuality. And so that's what I think is the path towards success. And so that's why I'm happy to see that production lines of artillery is increasing in the United States to support the war effort. It's going to continue to go up. I think for this upcoming year, we're going to be seeing about 800,000 shells produced, 800,000 to a million shells produced. I think by 2025, the production line should go even higher. The amount that's going to be produced is going to increase exponentially every year. But making sure that the commitment is sustainable is the most important thing for Ukraine winning the war and winning the war as fast as possible. Because I believe that the best argument for sending Ukraine weapons and sending them weapons now is if you want this war to be over, the soonest way you get this war over is giving them the tools to do the job right. If you want somebody to finish a construction job, build a nice house, build a nice shed, you don't give them a bunch of shoddy tools. You don't give them a rusty hammer, a bunch of rusty nails, saws that halfway don't work and are dull. You're going to give them good equipment that works well, and you give them enough of it to get the job done.
It's sad. Even like a Mr. Beast challenge would provide more to be able to get things done. Like, like little batches. Oh, here you go. Here you go. Try to get as much done as you can in this amount of time. It's like, what the hell is that, dude? Like the attackums, Ukraine's close to 275,000 Russian losses now inside of Ukraine. So it seems like every 75,000 losses, Ukraine unlocks a new weapon system on their Western battle pass. Okay, and they're getting the fucking attackums, it seems, but it needs to stop. Like, they need to just give Ukraine a package that's going to sustain them, but continue the aid, not like drop feeding them. Not like, here you go, and then like 3 months goes by, 4 months goes by. Okay, here's another one. It's just not going to work.
Mr. Beast needs to do a challenge where he tells his viewers, I'll give you $1 million if you blow up Russian production facilities. You have an army of 100,000 preteens running across Russia, acting as little anarchists. It'll be great.
Today we filmed 100,000 of my viewers running across Russia to blow up that ammunition depot.
My viewers joined a Chechen battalion who was working in the mountains of the Caucasus to execute Kadyrov. It'd just be great. I would love to see that video.
I would watch all of them. I would tune into Mr. Beast again. When I was a Mr. Beast fan, when he did the videos of himself watching 10 hours straight of videos, like that was when I watched Mr. Beast. Like, he would sit there.
You watched all 10 hours, of course, right?
No, but I watched like 10 minutes of it, and I'd be like,
damn, you didn't watch the whole thing? I mean, I would imagine, like in the barracks, in the military, it gets lonely at night. Mr. Beast keeps you company. I would imagine.
Vine kept me company in the military. Vine was at its heat when I was.
Speaking of Mr. Beast, did you see the map?
Yeah, I checked it out. It had mistakes. I think it had the U.S. Georgian flag on it. Instead of the country of Georgia. Crimea was a part of Russia on his flag, I believe, right?
Do you think that was... I doubt it was purposeful. I think that they probably just got some preset in the map. I've worked with map editors. I think I might actually use the exact map editor they do. And in the preset for it, Crimea is a part of Russia.
Yep. Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now so my viewers can see.
And my editor, when he did it with the first draft of one of my videos, he actually had Crimea as part of Russia. And I said, if we release this on my channel,
you're done.
Do you know what country I'm in right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it was on purpose. I think it was just lazy work by the editing team, but it was not. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was on purpose. But beyond that, back to other topics. So we get the attackums. Bone face. I had another thing I wanted to ask you specifically. Oh,
Mr.
Elon Musk. Yeah, Elon Musk turning off Starlink. We talked about him last week, just ranting about him randomly, but now we actually have a reason to. It seems. What do you got?
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to repeat what's already been said a million times by a million other people. So I'm gonna put out my theory for what I think happened. Now, after seeing what Ian Bremmer said months. Like a year ago about the Putin phone call when he originally denied it. That was before Bloomberg produced a report saying actually he did have a call with Putin, and multiple government officials say that he told them that he had a call with Putin, so he probably lied about that. Here's what I think happened. I think 2 days into the war, when Fedorov put out a tweet asking for Starlink assistance, Elon Musk didn't really think much about the geopolitics of the war, didn't really know much about Ukraine to begin with. Like many other people all around the world didn't know much about Ukraine to begin with. But Elon Musk, likely liking a good chance to help his image. I mean, we all remember the Thailand situation, boys in the cave. He takes the opportunity, sends the Starlinks, Ukrainians happy, everyone's happy. They put his face in a billboard in Odessa, everyone's celebrating. But as time goes on, originally, when he was fine with the stuff being used, he starts getting whispers in the ear. Not only from the people that he hangs around with around Twitter, that now that he's in charge of the thing, like Ian Miles Chong and other hacks that know nothing about the war and constantly show their ignorance, constantly showing their ass, but also just straight up Russian government officials and Putin himself whispering in his ear, which he originally denied, still denies, but multiple sources, including U.S. officials, say that he confirmed to them, and I have no reason to believe that Ian Bremmer lied when he broke the story over a year ago. We've only found more evidence of this since then. So I think as the Russians whispered in his ear, as these people in his circle started to whisper in his ear, I think he started to have regret. You know, I think he started to have second thoughts about sending support to Ukraine and having it used in this way. And the problem is, though, at this point, Ukraine was already heavily relying on Starlink. I did a short documentary, I don't know, documentary video on my channel where we followed a group of volunteers who had to deliver these Starlinks through dangerous conditions where they were shelled by the Russian army. A lot of people don't know this, but some people have been saying on Twitter like, oh, just like switch off from Starlink. It is not that simple. So many units are relying on Starlink for communication. And there is a usefulness to just being able to point something at the sky and immediately getting an internet connection when your connection is constantly being targeted by the Russians, constantly being jammed by the Russians. And so a lot of units are using it. I just got back from Chasiv Yar, and I just got back from the Orihov axis, and everywhere I look, what do I see? Starlink there, Starlink everywhere, still, even after all these scandals are breaking, because it's useful. So it's not just something you could switch off, but apparently he switched off, at least mentally, in his support for Ukraine. And so he starts to have second thoughts. He starts saying, well, maybe this isn't charity work. Maybe actually I should be getting paid for this. And maybe not only should I be getting paid for this, and he was getting paid for this, government was actually paying for a lot of it, even though he didn't talk about that part. There was a problem though. There's no contract. And this is the main point I made in my video when I released this. There was no contract holding Elon down to his word. So then he started cutting off Starlink connections without warning while soldiers were in active combat operations. Imagine you're a Ukrainian soldier on the front line in active combat. Your buddy gets shot. He's bleeding out. You've got 20 minutes maybe. You got to get a medic there to stabilize him. You call for medevac and Starlink isn't working. That could legitimately contribute to the deaths of Ukrainian soldiers who were relying on Starlink and thought they could rely on Starlink and Elon to help them communicate with the rest of their command. That communication infrastructure is vital. Combat, and it's really hard to understand what combat's like without being somewhere near it. It's an extremely disorienting experience. You're very confused what's going on. Explosions could be happening everywhere. You could be dazed. If it's loud enough, your ears can start ringing. And that disorientation now comes with a lack of communication that can legitimately get people killed. But the thing that's really messed up about this news story is that with these Russian ships, have contributed to people getting killed. If the Ukrainians were able to pull off the successful sneak attack, which I don't know if you've talked about it, but the Ukrainians were trying to do a sneak attack on the Russian Black Sea Fleet while it was still in the Sevastopol port, and while they were going over, they were like, hey, and this is what Elon says. There's a dispute on whether he cut the support or whether yeah, I was
just going to ask you about what do you think of his response to it all yesterday?
I don't know, because I don't think he's trustworthy. I think he's lied about the Putin thing, so he could be lying again. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt and try to do this, I think, the right way and just say, okay, let's say that they were asking for it. That's what they were still expecting, to be reliant on Starlink, that Starlink would be there to support him. And all of a sudden, according to him, he didn't want to help in this operation. He didn't want Starlink to be used in this operation because it would make Starlink an active participant in the war. The company already was. And by the way, since they've signed a contract, they now are a participant in the war, and it's legally binding, which means we can hold them to account if they tried some of this bullshit again. So they're already an active participant in the war. This reminds me of Oppenheimer. Like, I built the bomb to kill people, and it killed people. I sent communication infrastructure to nation being invaded, and they used it to fight against the invasion. It's like, literally. Come on, you knew this. Really? You want to know what he said according to the biographer? He said that he thought the Ukrainians were going to use it to Netflix and chill. That's an exact quote. I'm not messing with you. Why would the Ukrainian federal digital minister be asking for support? Directly referencing when he asking for support. Hey, Elon, while you send missiles to Mars, we're having missiles hitting Ukrainian cities. That doesn't sound like he wants to watch the Vinland Saga or Dahmer. That sounds like he wants to stop these missiles from hitting his cities and push the Russians out of the country. And for the first few months of the war, he was perfectly fine with that. And still, Putin and Russian government officials started whispering in his ear. And then his logic about, look, I just didn't want this to escalate the situation. The Russians were using those ships to bomb Ukrainian cities. The situation had already escalated. The Ukrainians were trying to disable these ships so they couldn't bomb Ukrainian cities with Kinzhal missiles, which have killed Ukrainian civilians. Through his inaction, he legitimately, for the second time in this war, could have contributed to the deaths of not only Ukrainian military personnel, but now Ukrainian civilian personnel as well. Not civilian personnel, but Ukrainian civilians as well.
Exactly. I mean, you're cooking all the points. I didn't even want to interrupt. There's no point in doing it because you're hitting everything that I completely agree with. And I got the quote up now on the screen too. It says, "How am I in this war?" Musk asks Isaacson. "Starlink was not meant to be involved in wars. It was so people can watch Netflix and chill and get online for school and do good, peaceful things, not drone strikes." And to that, I say Ukraine had Netflix and chill abilities and to go to school and get peaceful things done before Russia started attacking their infrastructure and their internet and everything like that, which required you to even send the Starlink there. And the fact, and it's got to be on purpose. Like, there's no way that he's just being stupid and this is my opinion, that he's just being like ignorant on it and just getting dicked around. Like, I feel like he is getting pulled around into different beliefs because like he was putting tweets out before or in the first week or so after Russia invaded, like, I want to fight Russia, or no, I want to fight.
Yeah, he was saying, I want to fight Putin. Yeah,
I want to fight Putin. Yeah, I want to fight him one-on-one. You know, I'm going to, like, he was being so pro-Ukraine and like garnished a lot of Ukrainian support.
That up to him?
Probably. He probably was like, what was this? Or had somebody ask him like, what was this that you had written here? Because awesome. I mean, yeah, and he was responding to Medvedev asking how Bakhmut was going, which at the time I read that as like he was giving shit to Medvedev because it was taking so damn long in Bakhmut. But
I think he was.
Yeah, I feel like that's what it came off as at the time. So it's like he was showing that he had pro-Ukrainian a spine to see the reality and be like that. But then obviously, I don't know, where now just in the last 4 or 5 months, it's just constant.
I don't know. He's going through spinal dystrophy. Something must have happened.
Some dystrophy. He's losing it. It's insanity, and it's a spiral down into the far right. It is what it is.
You know what really gets me too is the I think the follow up where he was like, you know, the borders aren't changing that much. Ukrainians and Russians are dying. They should have a truce. They should all get together and just make a truce. Oops. I always want to hear from these people how exactly that would work. And what would stop the Russians from attacking again? Because if you follow up with, okay, would this truce come with NATO membership to stop an invasion? What about some security guarantee? How would we hold the Russians accountable? What would stop the Russians from doing what they do every time? And that is look at what they did wrong, lick their wounds, and then attack again. And next time, the Ukrainians aren't going to necessarily have the benefit of the Russians, you know, doing a Russia and fucking up as bad as they did. Next time, they're going to be a lot more careful. They're going to try to go through the lessons learned, and Ukraine's not going to get another opportunity like the one they have now. But the thing that angers me the most is it feels like he's just treating it like lines on a map, and he's removing the populations that are left in occupation that have to deal with their property rights being taken away, they're being forcibly deported, their kids being kidnapped, over 19.5 thousand children being kidnapped. I thought that maybe after the International Criminal Court warrant would be put out, they would stop. They're still kidnapping Ukrainian children. They were hiding children in closets and in the homes of the staff of these orphanages, trying to stop them from being deported. The torture, the mass graves. Just because you signed a truce does not mean necessarily that violence ceases. The nature of the violence would just change.
It would just rotate to a different level of violence, like you had just said. I mean, it's just the cognitive dissonance, and it's like the whole sphere of it that Elon goes to, like you had mentioned earlier, the Ian Miles wrongs opinions, and he just propagates those, either retweets it, shares it, or believes in it himself. But it's more on the same. Like I had seen that your favorite, everyone's favorite, Hacks and Jinkle appeared on Tim Pool, which again, it's getting to that point. It's like we're at a point now where it's showing it for what it is. Hacks and Jinkle's on Tim Pool. Alex Jones goes on Solovov, which I'm going to go through that tonight, but I haven't asked you on that either.
I
but you got
seen it. All I tweeted
insane.
out in response to that is this is probably the sanest guest they've had on all week.
Actually, it seemed like it because Alex Jones has been doing the propaganda game for so long. He can get his points across without sounding like it. I mean, he sounds absolutely crazy, but in terms of the Russian propagandists that they have on there that are just like, insanity. But anyways, I'm seeing this happen, and then it's like Tim Pool would posted the tweet after he had Jackson Hinkle on saying, "Oh, whoa, yo, what the fuck? Russia won." Or whatever, where he posted that tweet. Oh, I lost Dylan now. He posted that tweet. What was it on the 6th after Ian Miles wrong had said that they're sending Ukrainian women now to the front lines, which Ukrainian women have been a part of the Ukrainian military since 1993, right?
Yeah, so, I don't know how somebody who would stay out of danger, like I don't think that guy could like stare down a squirrel, much less an enemy soldier. I don't think that guy is ever going to offer to be in a trench for his nation. By the way, he doesn't live in America, even though he has tried to portray it that way on a few occasions.
Oh, Ian Miles wrong?
Yeah, he doesn't live in the United States. Yeah. He's never lived in the United States.
Yeah.
But the last thing I need is another person trying to talk down the people who are willing to defend their communities, their villages, and their towns from a barbaric invading army that is quite literally razing those towns and villages to the ground, wiping cities off the face of the earth, and then openly saying they won't even rebuild them in many instances. And so I don't know why women would want to defend those villages. I don't know. Maybe he can do a deep investigation with his freelance journalist skills and figure it out. Maybe he'll talk to a few Ukrainians.
Yeah, probably not though. They just like the comfortable narrative that Ukraine's Nazis and globalism is what's really behind the support for Ukraine. George Soros, WEF, their favorite 3-letter Tom Clancy world organizations that they can just come up with and use that as the excuse to not support Ukraine.
You think when a people take up arms, join local militias essentially to defend their towns and villages against an authoritarian invading army that wants to take away their democracy, this sounds like the wet dream of every American militiaman. That's what this sounds like. And it happens.
They sign up for, isn't it?
Yeah, this is something that people in the woods have been training for in the United States for years, for the dream that the Chinese soldiers one day are gonna like drop down and take over West Virginia, right? And now it happens for real in Ukraine, and all of a sudden, nah, man, they got the bioweapon. They got the bioweapon, and they were doing Donbass children. Donbass children.
Biden. Hunter Biden's
Hunter
cock.
Biden cock. Ukraine.
Oh my God, it's exactly it, and it drives me insane because the same people that are so patriotic, like you said, they saw Red Dawn or something, so they imagine just Soviet helicopters coming in and just commandos coming, so they got to take up arms and save their hometown from the communists, right? That's their dream or whatever, and it's like, you got this, and it's just the perfect example of that. And it's like they're being propagandized and whipped up into believing it's some grand conspiracy as to why why they shouldn't support Ukraine and why Russia's based or whatever the fuck, dude. It's insane.
A lot of them are just being led by the nose by the Kremlin, if I'm being blunt.
Yeah.
Like Jackson Hinkle, that's somebody being led by the nose by the Kremlin. And he's not even hiding it. He's not even hiding. A lot of them aren't hiding. And that guy gets booked on Tim Pool. That guy gets booked on Fresh and Fit. We got Tucker Carlson repeating on the most popular news show in America before he lost it, Russian state talking points over and over and over. Man, Tucker Carlson's been going downhill quick. You saw his last guest, Larry Sinclair.
Oh, insane. I saw the preview for it where he did his little trailer for the episode, and it looked like something from dog shit TV that you watch at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that you flip on like channel 16 or something. It looked like shit. And then just the fact that they're taking it seriously and they're running with it. We're in a stupid time. We're in the hardest times and stupidest of times in terms of like trying to convey a point or try to argue, try to, exist in this misinformation space here and try to find the truth. When things like this are added into the mix, and then people are looking at it as if it's like a legitimate thing that needs to be debated, and it's an opinion, I weep for our future.
We don't have the same foundational basis of reality. And when you don't have the same foundational basis of reality, that's when divisions in society get really, really, really toxic. If me and somebody else can't agree on the same facts, we're never going to agree on how to solve something through a policy proposal, because we might not even agree that there's a problem to begin with, or we might not even agree what necessarily is the nature of the problem or what causes the problem. And that's what's wrong with people like Tucker Carlson spreading this nonsense. When Tucker Carlson went on a show and said for every Russian soldier that dies, 7 Ukrainian soldiers die. If you truly believe that, then Ukraine can't win. It's literally impossible. Russia has a population like triple, quadruple the size of Ukraine. But that was a lie. It was for every Russian soldier that dies, 2.5 Ukrainian soldiers die. He has it repeated on his show twice. No correction ever issued. Not that you ever care, because again, he's a narrative humper. If it serves the narrative, just like Laura Loomer, he's going to put it out, no questions asked. Just like the Larry Sinclair story. I watched it. I can't believe I did. Only got through half of it. But
you watched it? I watched the trailer.
Let me give you some details. So the story is Larry Sinclair
Jesus Christ
went to the city where Obama was, got in some limousine, said, "Bring me to the drugs and sex," and decided to bring him to a bar where Obama was, where he daps up the limo driver. Obama's like, "Let me bring you to the drugs and sex," and then brings him in, gives him some cocaine, and they start doing lines on a CD disc in the back of the limo before he then proceeds to blow Barack Obama, and Barack Obama boinks him in the back of the limo. And that's just the first day of their adventures. Apparently Obama came back for seconds the next day at his hotel. It was a whole weekend romp, apparently. Now, he can't remember the name of the bar or anyone who worked there, and he doesn't have any witnesses who can stand up for him. But Tucker Carlson has some evidence. Now, I'm sure people at home are curious what that evidence is. Of course, it's the time-proven method of the lie detector test. And now, I can already just say lie detector tests are bullshit, right? It's not that difficult to foil a lie detector test. People can quite literally try to train to do it, right? But that's not the kicker. He just says at the start of it, this story is credible. I mean, he took a lie detector test, and then he moves on. He leaves out the fact that he failed the lie detector test and then accused the people who did it of rigging it. The story has no credibility whatsoever, but this is just Tucker Carlson unfiltered with no one at Fox to hold him back at all. Not that he was being held back much at Fox anyway.
I think it's designed to just like store headline style information in their followers' brains, right? Where they'll just store it, where they don't, the details don't matter. The people that this message is getting to, all they're going to remember is, oh, and Barack Obama had gay sex with this Larry guy, and Tucker Carlson talked about it, so it must be true, right? Or, oh, the Laura Loomer had the Azov Photoshop, or no, I can't even say that, no, because they won't even say Photoshop. Laura Loomer had the photo of the Azov Nazi, and he's in Florida, and he's a DeSantis supporter, and they want to send more aid to Ukraine. Oh, that must be true. I saw it on X. Elon Musk owns X, and he's a free speech guy. So this got to be true.
The type of politics that I think like Laura Loomer and a lot of these, I think, disinformation hacks operate in almost feels like TikTok politics, where it's They just give you as much information as quick as possible without going into details, and they hope you don't pay attention. Like, if you would just really sit down and think about Obama being a secret homosexual, right? Not only has he been incredibly effective in hiding it over the years, you know, I have a pretty decent gaydar when I try to go out in the town, you know? He's not up, I've never gotten a single from Obama, but wouldn't it be weird that it was Joe Biden that pushed the Obama administration to go forward on gay marriage, and it was Barack Obama holding them back when he's a closeted secret homosexual? Right. It doesn't make any sense on any level, but they trust Tucker, and they trust his personality. They've got that parasocial attachment to him, much like many people do to streamers. And so I think that is a big element, that he said it, so it's true. Same thing with Trump.
The other thing too with this story is, all right, I'm 30 years old now. I gotta sound fucking like a boomer, but 30. But when I told you on a couple streams ago that we did, I mean, I used to be in the Tom Clancy world. I was conservative. I volunteered on McCain's campaign back in 2008 as a high schooler. Okay, my parents had me out there doing the shit like that, dude. They had us like that. It was crazy. So I know that this messaging about Obama was top talking points back then, back in 08, 07. Like, this is what was coming from conservative. It was the birth certificate thing, and if Obama was secretly gay, like behind the scenes, like Michelle Obama had, you know, was a trans or whatever. Like, this was all in the topic of a conservative debate back then, because they
still talk about Michelle Obama being a secret man. I'll still see posts where they're like trying to find like a penis bulge. It's the gayest thing ever, and they'll never admit it. It is the gayest thing ever, but they're like trying to find the penis bulge, just searching for it. I've never looked for that for that stuff that as hard as they are. But,
it's insane. But this is where I still ignored it though when I was a kid, because like I was a kid, so I was a senior in high school. But I vividly remember all of this because like I was involved with it. I was in McCain's office in Stillwater, Minnesota, calling Republicans to vote for John McCain. It's going to be the election of our lifetime type bullshit. I was a senior. My brother's like I think he was in like 8th grade or 7th grade, little kid calling people. But we got to talk to Sarah Palin called, and she got to talk to us, and that was the most exciting part of the day. It was just sad, but I mean, I started young into politics, and I now with the platform, like I told my audience before you came in, I want to start during the daytime, go into more U.S. politics and stuff and talk about it. Like you said, I think the perfect place to start would be abortion. I think trans rights for me would be the next thing I should definitely go into and talk about that. What's another one I should go into immediately? Like, gun rights. I think that's another one. Second Amendment debates. I think that should be a good one to throw me into the fire with. What's another one? What's another one?
So you just want the division. Climate change is a good one.
Climate change. Just throw me in. I think that's the best way at this point. There's no sense in just kind of walking into it. I think I should just throw myself at it. You know what I mean? Because I was out there for 2020 in that election cycle, and I didn't really get to share much of how I feel. So a lot of my viewers kind of believed what I believed instead of me sharing that. But I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, it depends. Like I've always been very like, I wear my heart on my sleeve when it comes to my political beliefs. And so I've cultivated an audience that expects that. And I don't know if you've cultivated that same type of audience. That might be a change for your content if you move off. Because if you just focus on one issue, right? And I focus on Ukraine for a decent chunk of my content, but I talk about other things as well. If you've focused on this, there might be a lot of people in your audience who agree with you on this, but then you go get an abortion. They're going to be like, I don't agree with you on that. And it depends on how, I would ask you how accepting your audience is to hear somebody that they disagree with. And so far from the reception they've given me, I think that's the case. I think that many of them will. I think that you have a pretty accepting audience. I will say about John McCain though, John McCain, when pushed on like Obama's a Muslim and he's like evil and he's doing all these bad things, when he was pushed on that, he pushed back on it. He said, no, he's a good, godly man.
Decent man.
Just like me, we just have some political disagreements. Could you imagine Donald Trump or anybody who's running for president right now outside of like Chris Christie saying something like that on the campaign trail?
That's what pushed me out of it, dude. That's what pushed me away from it. I wasn't even like a snooty type of a person where we need to act like, you know, proper. And like I like the trolling stuff too, but like there came to a point where it's like, dude, all decency is just gone completely. Like like just completely gone. It's just nothing but trolling now. It's nothing but red pill fucking bullshit now. Like that's all it is. There's no policy anymore. It's just culture war topics and talking points. There's nothing to even debate anymore, really, of substance. I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? That's really what's kind of pushing me away.
Around, like, for example, Islam, as an example.
Yeah.
The debate for the Trump campaign on that would be, would Obama be included in the Muslim ban? That's the Trump campaign debate on that statement. The politics, I do think it has. I think it was always toxic to a certain degree, but Trump has like kickstarted it to a whole new level.
Yeah, a lot of people that like had opinions on politics but weren't really involved in it now are, which, you know, could, like, you would think that would be a good thing, but it's not, coming from the conspiracy crowd, which have always kind of existed. They were just really stirred up here in the last few years. But that's why, I mean, I was just kidding. I was just fucking with you. I'm not going to do like my first stream. Okay, we're going to talk about abortion.
Let's do it.
I was just kidding. Yeah, I'm just gonna, you know, pull up social media and then just go through topics during the daytime, and then just because,
you know,
like you had mentioned,
a good place to start might be taking a political compass test on stream.
Ooh, yeah, that might be a good one, just to see where I'm at now. If I would have did one years ago, I don't think I'd have the following I have now. I'd probably be reacting to Fresh and Fit videos and shit. Jordan Peterson,
Jackson Hinkle went on Fresh and Fit.
Jackson Hinkle would be a guest. If I would have kept going, oh my god, I can't imagine. But it was taking myself into situations personally and trying to find out the truth myself. It wasn't like any person that told me, you know, this is the actual truth now, Andrew, you got it wrong. Because people were trying to do that to me for years, and I was like, no, you're just a liberal or whatever. I was like, you're just a leftist. And so it was really like taking myself out into situations, 2020 especially, going to protests, seeing what BLM was actually about, you know, being involved more so. I mean, that really opened my eyes to the truth and what truth is, and how narratives work. Because again, I'm there myself, but it's really carried over to my talking about Ukraine and etc. But I want to do what I'm doing about Ukraine, but talk about all of it, because I feel like it's all relevant. I mean, I come across news stories about Ukraine, because my stream is Ukraine. Like at the end of the day, it's Ukraine oriented, my algorithms for that. But there's so many stories that are connected to it that are like US politics or this. It's a different story that I can't really dive into on my Ukraine stream, because people are tuned in for Ukraine news, and I don't want to rabbit hole off about, you know, like Jackson Hinkle and I don't want to ramble off too much about Alex Jones or Elon Musk or anything like that, you know, go off into different topics. So that's why I want to add it to, not really necessarily take away or change my current stream. But I feel like talking about this now, before we start the election season, I want to establish who I am, what my beliefs are. And so that way those that have been following me can, you know, when I'm out there reporting on stories and I'm in the protests again, because I'm sure there will be protests in the US election coming up. When I'm out there, I want people to know, like, hey, like, this guy has shared everything he believes in. We know what he's about. He talks about US politics. Like, I don't want to be just some random this time like I was last time.
When Mike Pence coups the government and takes over, there's gonna be a lot of protests in 2024, man. I will say that I could not imagine just doing Ukraine content and I don't like using more content, but it's what I use. I actually, when I was with the evacuation crew, they said, "Did you like the content?" And I felt it was the weirdest thing. I was like, I don't know how to respond. Yes,
yeah, Ukrainians really say that. They say that the soldiers do too. It's like real, like, okay. I mean, they're calling it that, you know. But yeah,
they called it that, not me.
Yeah.
But if I was to do that, there's a fear. Number one, I want to talk about other topics, right?
Yeah, me too.
I'm interested in other topics, but there would be a fear, like, when this whole horrid war finally is over, and the sooner it ends, the better. When it ends, what do you do then? What are you gonna move on to? And for me, that's why I talk about other foreign policy issues. I'm also issues in other foreign policy issue. I got my stream. I'm diversifying, and so having that diversity is important. And that doesn't necessarily even mean you need to break too far out of the mold. For example, you can talk about the ongoing civil war in Myanmar, or the one in Sudan, or any other number of foreign policy conflicts that other people could be interested in, and democracy struggles that people could be interested in, like in Myanmar, where I think a lot of the same principles that are in play in Ukraine, of course, is not a foreign invader here, but when it comes to the struggle for democracy, that's 100% an element in Myanmar.
100%. I mean, that's the type of thing. Or the coup in Sudan months ago. I did a video on it, but I didn't really get to dive into it. But that's the stuff that like interests me. So I'd be doing that during the daytime and focusing that, daytime stream. But I've been covering the reason why Ukraine, and like you had said, like I don't want the war to last forever, so I'm not going to gear my entire channel around Ukraine, because again, I'm not planning for it to last forever, because I don't want it to. But also, I mean, I know that, just like with the BLM protests, I knew that those weren't going to last forever. And I was pretty damn viral every day on those things with the protests. So I already knew, like, oh, there's going to be, I have to figure out how to pivot, or I have to figure out, what I'm going to cover next. Granted, Ukraine, the invasion, the night of it, like I told you, it just, people came into my video game stream because I was gaming and said, hey, Vladimir Putin did a speech. They're about to invade Ukraine. And then I pulled it up, and now I do news aggregation for Ukraine news. But it fell into, the rest is history. It fell into my lap. But I don't want that to happen for everything, because then I'm just kind of like bound to it. So I want to, branch out, but still stay true to who I am.
I think there's important, like, you have to have you need to have a consistency in content, so people have a reason to keep coming back. But you also need to be sure that you reinvent yourself. So you're making things original, you're making things new, which is part of the reason why I think I'm doing this, and I'm trying to innovate in the type of content that I'm doing from what I used to do. But I think it's also important not to bounce around, because what if just by happenstance you bounce to something that just doesn't work, or you're just not that fantastic, like
not interested,
like, oh, I'm a streamer on, I don't know, I specifically stream now about the Niger Delta. And, for whatever reason that doesn't work. Americans are just not that interested in 6-hour streams about the Niger Delta and, how it flows or whatever. Then what do? I just crash my channel, which is why you need to, diversification.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes perfect sense. So that's what I want to do. I'll probably wait till after I get back from Ukraine, which I leave this weekend.
You're leaving this weekend? You're leaving tomorrow?
I leave Sunday night. So it's already Saturday for you, though. So technically it'd be on Monday then for you, but Sunday night for my time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Two trucks this time, 2 4x4 trucks, 3 drones. We fundraised, and then a bunch of medical equipment that's behind me in the picture in the video. So my community's been stepping up big time with aid.
That's great, man. I'm happy to have you back here. When are you going to be back in country?
I'll be back in country on the 14th, so like next week.
Wow. Okay, we need to meet up.
Yeah,
I'm going back to Kiev tomorrow.
Will you be there for a while?
Probably. I've got something with the 3rd Assault Brigade, so I'm gonna be going with them, but I don't know when exactly. But I should still be there then. Yes, I should still be.
I believe. Yeah, because I'm there the weekend, and then actually, I think I'm going somewhere with the 3rd Assault Brigade too. To be honest,
we just find each other at the same place.
We'll just be out there in the middle. Like we'll be in Coach Genevka. I'd be like, Dylan, there you are.
We start getting shelled, and then we both get in like a trench, and we like plump backs. We turn around, and we see each other. Like, oh, hey, how are you doing?
We'll do a podcast episode then. We'll sit there huddled up and have the phone. So here we are now in the front lines having a discussion with Dylan. That's how I expect it. But we're bringing the drones over there. We're delivering. I believe we're bringing a medical truck. You know Project Constantine on Twitter?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, that's who we're delivering the medical van to. But then the Special Forces truck, I think, is going to the 3rd Assault Brigade. To be honest. Damn.
Do you put any logos on it? Do you got like logos on it that you put on it?
They do. The NAFO 69 Sniffing Brigade does. They put my Mercado Media logo on there, and then they just put Mercado Media on the truck in the back. And then they also put, if somebody donates enough, they put the flag of choice on there. So like a state flag or a country flag can go on the door.
Also, I need to ask you. Somebody in chat just made a recommendation. Podcast name.
Like having one.
Remember we had to name this podcast.
Oh yeah. Oh, the podcast name. Yeah, we haven't. I haven't. We haven't yet even thought about it. I like it variously throughout the day. I do, but then it's like so many other things come up I don't know. What should we name it? I want to name it something cool. That's
I
why
don't
I
know.
probably
Somebody
haven't
just suggested In the Trenches with Dylan and Merc.
In the Trenches. Ooh, actually, that one kind of goes tough.
It is a
Merc and
tough.
In the Trenches with Merc and Dill. Big Dill.
Merc first. I see what you did there. Okay,
Merc,
yeah,
Merc and Burns. Merc and Burns.
Merc and Burns.
Good morning, Keith. Burnsy Merc. Merc and Burns. Not bad. I like that In the Trenches one your viewer came up with, though. I think we should keep that In the Trenches part, though.
Yeah, I like think that. That's a good first option, right? We've gotten a good first option. It is good.
We need rough. We're doing rough draft options, you guys.
Like, we need to Google it before we find out there's 17 podcasts already named In the Trenches.
Literally, that's how long it took me to even create my business name, because I was like, I had all these cool ideas. I'm like, well, I better Google and make sure they don't exist first, and all of them existed. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna name it my last name, Media, Mercado Media. That's how I came up with it. Something.
Hey, Dylan Burns TV, man, we had the same idea.
That's just something, because trying to, like, I wanted to do Blackout Media or something, or like something crazy at first, and it was taken. So I was mad. So I just took no better.
Else. I mean, hey, that's the marketing I can carry with me forever. Dylan Burns TV, you know.
Yeah, it's a great one to have, dude. That's why I use the TV in my gaming stream, Snack Squad TV. I like that TV part on there.
Good. I like DylanBurnsLIVE for the second channel, so you know it's for my live stream content.
See, I fucked up. I just created one YouTube channel, and now I'm trying to figure out how to do videos and live streams with it. Because the one thing is, more streamers are coming to YouTube, which is actually good, because more people that watch live streams are coming to YouTube, which means likely more for me, because I'm on YouTube instead of Twitch.
People keep telling me to make the jump.
You should, dude. You should. I love it. I love YouTube. I've streamed to Twitch a couple times though, so I really can't give an opinion, because I didn't really use Twitch that much. I've only really used YouTube, but I love YouTube. I love the features. I love the revenue splits better. I just like it a little better. The audience is definitely. I have my own website
to avoid the revenue split problem. That really helps me.
That's what I need. I need to get my own website. You have your own. You can like look at your chat and everything on there.
Yep, I got my own site chat, which is much better than Twitch chat. It's fantastic because you have an unlimited amount of emotes. You can have like as many tiers as you want, and you can make the amounts of money that they pay for the tiers anything you want, and they don't take any cut. So you get all the money. And what I do is I split it. I have a percentage, which of course I won't discuss, but I have a percentage that I give to my editor. I have a percentage who manages the website, and I have a percentage that goes to me. None of it goes to Jeff Bezos. None of it goes to any of you YouTube people. All of it goes to my website. It's fantastic. And if you ever make a merch store, same website. Social media, you can find that on my website as well. It's like a good central hub.
I have a website, but I haven't done anything with it. But that sounds like something that I need to be doing to have that, because like you trust in YouTube only or like Facebook only. I've been screwed by Facebook so many times. That's why I even have a YouTube channel, because I started solely on Facebook, my dumbass, right? Solely on Facebook, because that's the only social media I really had. I was straight up like conservative Facebook boomer user, dude, straight up, like the meme and everything. But that's all I had, and I'm glad that I branched out to YouTube. But the next step is going to be the website live stream.
Another good thing about the website is that, let's say I get banned on Twitch tomorrow, I can just tweak it a bit and boom, I'm on YouTube. And then if you're on my website and you tune in on my website, no matter if I'm streaming on Twitch or on YouTube, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get the same live stream. But if you're on Twitch and all of a sudden I don't appear, then you'll be like, oh, Dylan's not streaming today, and you just keep going. The same thing on YouTube. But if you're on the website, no matter where I'm streaming, route straight there.
Absolutely. Well, let's give your final thoughts, buddy, for the night. And I'll be talking with you personally in Ukraine here in a few days, which is awesome to talk about.
Can I shout out a donation? Because I just got back from evacuation work in Eastern Ukraine, from the Orihiv axis and the Chasiv Yar axis, the Bakhmut axis. And the person I was with, Dima, good friend of mine, I posted about it on my Twitter. He needs to get his vehicle repaired. This is the same guy who helped save. He was actually in my video, my most recent video on my channel that you watched. He was the Ukrainian guy who helped save John Jones. He's the same guy who's doing these evacuation operations. This guy, you know, I asked him if you have to be crazy to do this work. He said, no, I think he's a little crazy. He goes into the most dangerous places in the country. He's lost multiple armored cars during these operations. One took a direct rocket strike from the Russians, and he's still doing it. going to these places where the vast majority of people have left to talk to the few elderly people that are still there, trying to convince them, trying to be, after all the other aid workers, a lot of them have given up on convincing these people. He's still going and saying, look, even if you can't leave today, here's my card. Call it anytime. We'll come within 48 hours to come pick you up and get you out of here. And that type of work is extremely vital to make sure that lifeline always exists for those who stay, no matter if they're there because, you know, they don't want to leave what they have and they're scared it's going to get stolen. They're scared that some settler, if Russia takes over, is going to replace them, or even if they're a waiter. At the end of the day, human life is human life, and he works really hard on this and puts himself in a lot of danger and is a great guy. And if people would like to contribute because he's trying to fix one of his vehicles so he can get back out there, I know he'd greatly appreciate it. And he was asking me to help him fundraise, so I'm doing my best to help bring a little attention to it. You can find his PayPal link on my last Twitter post on my Twitter account.
So follow Dylan on Twitter, which damn, you got a big following on Twitter. I looked at that like, oh,
it's decent. Yeah. It's decent. It's getting we're close enough to 95K. I want to get to 100K. 100K is a good number. It's a great number.
Yeah, you'll get there. You're very close. So follow Dylan on Twitter. I'm Andrew Mercado from Mercado Media. To Dylan's audience, thanks for stopping by with us. And I know you guys are talking about so many topics, and that's what I want to bring to my audience here on my stream is more just me, myself, being who I am, but bringing you guys more content. So shout out to Dylan's audience for being an inspiration to be open to other topics beyond just Ukraine. Even though Dylan's in Ukraine, it's amazing to have an audience that supports you talking about other things too.
Man, my audience, I can't believe my audience has supported me through all this. Man, I used to host internet debates for a fake wrestling belt, and now I'm in the trenches of a war zone, man. So it's been a pretty big transformation, to say the least. I couldn't imagine Vince McMahon. I'm here in Kuwait as the tanks are rolling by. It's kind of hard to picture that, and I'm unbelievably grateful for the opportunity that they gave me.
Of course. Well, buddy, thank you so much again for chatting tonight. I'll be talking with you again very soon in person in Ukraine.
Man. See you soon. I'll get you a drink. Okay.
All right, buddy. Hell yeah, we'll have one.
Awesome. See you later. Bye bye.